What's going on, guys? In this video I'm talking about our first look at NHL 22 franchise mode that we actually got yesterday. Right here, guys, we have the screenshot from franchise. You can see it's a draft screenshot. They're actually on the third pick. That's why Shane Wright is not shown. The first two things I noticed, I think, is just that the franchise screen, the background, is now white opposed to like a black or a dark gray. It's good that it's changed, but I feel like if you're playing a long franchise, you know, sometimes I'll play franchise literally up to 5 hours at a time. You might start to hurt the eyes a little bit having the white screen there. So if you can change that, that'd be awesome. If not, I feel like, you know, it's going to hurt your eyes a bit more than the dark screen. You also might notice the X Factor icon next to the silhouette of the player here. Pretty sure this guy is made up. Kyle Lander. I've never heard of him before. So basically that's telling you that this prospect has an X Factor. And there's a little blurb on the site here about that. It says that you can get X Factor reports in both pro and amateur scouting. So you can find out who has an X Factor on the other team, as well as, you know, who has X Factors in the entry draft. It also mentions how this is an added layer to Fog of War, as it's another thing that's hidden until you scout it. Personally, though, I don't really like using Fog of War in franchise. I find it ends up just being a little bit too much, and I kind of already know who's good and who's not. And a lot of times, too, I feel like the things that are hidden are things you would just actually know in real life as a fan, not to mention, like, a GM as an NHL team. And one really interesting piece of new information we got is that X Factors will actually influence trade value, but I guess that kind of makes sense if you have an 85 overall guy with an X Factor and then one without, and they have the same rating, age, potential, like the same aside from the X Factor, the one with it should be worth more. It also mentions how that affects team management. That, of course, is through chemistry. If you have three guys all with like the sniper X Factor play on the first line, it's probably not going to work out as well as, say, a playmaking X Factor, a shooting X Factor, and then the other ones like physical, defensive, what have you. So a lot of that we already knew, but there were some new things in there. On top of this, guys, I just want to quickly mention, if you didn't know, Expansion Draft is returning to NHL 22. You can either be a new 33rd NHL team, which I think is actually awesome. Very excited you can be a 33rd team. I think there's a lot of, you know, fun possibilities there, or even, of course, redoing the Seattle Kraken draft. But back to kind of the screenshot in question. I mentioned the whiteness, I mentioned the X Factors, the fact that created players still have a black silhouette opposed to just some like computer generated face. It would be so much better to have that, especially if you have a guy you drafted early on. You keep him out throughout your whole team. It'd be really cool to, like, you know, put a face to the name, even if he's made up. It's so much better than just looking at this dark silhouette, especially too, like, when you get probably 10 plus years into franchise and just everyone is a silhouette opposed to having an actual face. Yes, they all have their own name, overall, etc. But, like, just going through a team and just seeing silhouettes, it is not as cool at all. It really takes away from the experience. So hopefully that's something they can add in a future title. I was hoping it would be in NHL 22. That is not the case. Another thing, too, guys, looking at this, you'll see this Kyle Lander guy is a gem, and yet Central Scouting has him ranked number 4, and, you know, he's going to go top 5 in the draft. That's a bit concerning for me. I think a gem should not be a top 5 pick. A gem really shouldn't even be a first round pick, in my opinion. For it to be a gem, I'd say they have to be at least a second round pick. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. If you're a first round pick, I mean, I guess you could say somebody like Pastrnak, who went 24th or whatever, was a gem because he should have been a top 5 pick. But, like, you know, we're not going to get nitty gritty here. I feel, you know, the gem should be for later picks, not first rounders, especially top 5. On top of that, guys, you might see Brad Lambert there is actually ranked 5th. That makes no sense at all. In real life this year, he's going to go number 2 or number 3. Apart from that, guys, like I mentioned, everything else looks to be pretty much the same. The potential's there, medium elite, so they haven't changed the potential system. Player types, so I don't see anything new. Now, since recording the first part of this video, guys, EA's actually released a little franchise mode clip on their Twitter, so I want to watch that with you now. We actually get a bit more, I guess, information about what I've already talked about, and pretty much everything I said was spot on. First thing, I guess you can see, you know, even the main menu there is white now opposed to like the dark gray or the black. Again, is that going to hurt your eyes after looking at it for a lot of time? Maybe. Everything else looks to be pretty much the same. Advanced data lines, roster moves. You know, I'm not seeing anything new. Jack Eichel there, 19 points, 22 games. Still a good player, but playing on a pretty bad Buffalo Sabres team, as we saw before. They're drafting 3rd overall, so I think that's actually one thing I didn't mention, but it's good to see Buffalo not sitting well. Also, too, here you can see they've actually got like these 3D logos next to the player. I think those look really sharp, but there's this Gunnarsson guy ranked higher than Shane Wright that we now see. I figured we were picking number 3 or 4 with a screenshot. Shane Wright went number 1. Apparently not, though. Also, too, Brad Lambert now has a headshot at least I'm not sure if he has a game face, but that is very good to see. Same goes there with Connor Geekie. Also, I should mention, Geekie above Savoy's definitely been interesting. I think everywhere I've looked, Savoy's higher rank except for like maybe one site. You can see there's an X Factor page now on the player, shows both their zone ability as well as their superstar abilities, but we kind of figured that, and there you go. Islanders pick number 1, and they get Gunnarsson there. So this tells us a couple things. Still, like I mentioned, you know, the creative players are better than the top prospects. Even the number 1 consensus pick in Shane Wright, number 1 on all these scouting reports on elite prospects, number 1 in every single mock draft. But we have this made-up guy, Gunnarsson, with medium franchise potential, going first overall in the 2022 draft. Like, I know some people say it doesn't matter. For me, though, it just ruins the authenticity. If I'm getting the first pick, I want to take Shane Wright. It sucks, really, if you do get last, you tank, and there's this made-up guy, and it's like, okay, I guess I have to take him now. He's better than Shane Wright, but I wanted to take Shane Wright, you know what I mean? I think you guys understand. I guess EA does not. I've actually asked EA before why we can't have worse creative prospects in the first couple seasons, since we already have so many good real-life top prospects. You don't really need them, and you get weird situations like this, where consensus first overall Shane Wright goes number 2. It's just so annoying to see. I'm honestly surprised, like, they're promoting this on their socials, but the good news is Shane Wright now has high elite potential opposed to medium elite, so they did give him a bit of a boost. Connor Bedard better be at least medium franchise. The dude is insane. If he doesn't get it, I don't know why the potential even exists. You could probably make an argument for him to have high franchise, and he better go number 1 since, you know, Michkov's not in the draft. If he doesn't go number 1, like, something is wrong. A few other things, too, to notice, guys. Islanders there picking first overall, so the Islanders fans, looks like you still sim poorly. Now, these aren't finalized rosters. That's one good thing to note. I see that Vancouver drafted Dylan Guenther here, where in real life, of course, Arizona drafted him. So, you know, there might not be completely updated rosters, but still, if they're at least, you know, 3/4 right, the Islanders still seem to sim poorly. Buffalo, though, is simming bad, which they should be before they were simming well. Washington picking number 2. That's definitely interesting. So, we'll keep going here. I think this is like the screenshot we had looked at. Pretty much dissected as much as we possibly could out of it. These screens here look to be the exact same. We have Jack Eichel here making $11 million. They were probably under the cap floor. Auto fixed it. You can see Ristolainen there still on Buffalo. So again, yeah, these aren't completely updated rosters. We actually don't see any ratings here for these guys. They got Dvorak, Edler, Domi, Montour there on Buffalo. I don't think any of those guys are on Buffalo. Bjork there, potential medium top 6. Same with Jack Quinn. I'm trying to see if we can pick up anything else. I don't think so. I noticed Eichel and Cousins both medium elite. There are 2 prospects there, medium elite. Don't really think anyone else of note. You can see their screen's pretty similar. Stats here looks to be the exact same in terms of like the stats we're working with. Again, in World of Chill, I noticed they removed both poise and aggressiveness. The same was not for Hut though. Hut only has poise taken out, and then franchise also has the same stats as before. They still have the poise stat there, 75, as well as aggressiveness. So no changes, a little bit of gameplay there, and that's pretty much it for the new franchise clip. Now, they've also put up a Be a Pro clip, and this is pretty relevant, I think, for franchises. It's very short, 20 seconds, but we see the Stanley Cup celebration, Ottawa winning it of all teams. I'm guessing, you know, this guy carried the Ottawa team, and the Stanley Cup celebration there looks to be pretty much exactly the same. Now, I will say we skipped from him hoisting the cup to like the Stanley Cup team pick, so the stuff in between, that could be a bit different. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there, but from what we've seen so far, it looks to be the exact same. Now, having said that too, the game faces do look a lot better. I can see Matt Murray there. Looks much better in game. I think that's Brady Tkachuk, or is that Brady Tkachuk up top with the big forehand? That might be Brady Tkachuk. I think that's Drake Batherson there. So again, these game faces look a lot better. The fact I'm actually, you know, picking out guys. That's Brady Tkachuk there. Never mind. Clear as day. That's Brady Tkachuk. So yeah, the game faces definitely look a lot better, but the Stanley Cup celly does look to be the exact same. That's pretty much it, guys, for what we know about franchise so far. Again, a little bit disappointed on some things. And even with all my criticism in this video, most of it had to do with the player ratings, and that could be fixed with roster shares. So fingers crossed that will be in the game. We know GM Connected is definitely not in the game. That's been confirmed, but we have not heard about roster shares. So hopefully that can be our saving grace this year. That's going to be it for this video, guys. If you did enjoy it, leave that thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the sub button. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a nice day. Goodbye.